My stepfather told me to lower my expectations about college until Harvard sent my acceptance to his office. He'd been dating my mom for 3 years before they got married when I was 14. From day one, he made it clear I wasn't his problem. "You're not my kid," he'd say during arguments. "I'm just stuck dealing with you until you turn 18. When I mentioned wanting to apply to Ivy League schools during my junior year, he actually laughed. A full belly laugh like I'd told the world's funniest joke. "Kids like you don't get into places like that," he said, not even looking up from his phone. "Maybe try community college. Set realistic goals." Mom stayed silent. She always did. I applied anyway. To Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and Stanford. I used my savings from working at the library to pay the application fees. I wrote my essays late at night after everyone went to bed. When I asked my stepfather to help with the financial aid forms, he threw them on the counter. "Waste of time," he muttered. "But fine, don't say I never helped you." The rejection, he promised, would be a good life lesson. What he didn't know was that I'd been building my application since freshman year. Perfect grades weren't enough, so I started a tutoring program for immigrant kids in our community. I taught myself coding and built an app that connected students with free educational resources. By senior year, I had 2,000 active users across 3 states. March came. The Ivy decisions dropped. I was in calculus when I got the email notification. My hands shook as I opened it on my phone under my desk. Harvard. Full scholarship. I stared at the screen for so long my teacher asked if I was okay. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. That evening, my stepfather came home late from his job as operations manager at a medical supply company. He worked in the administrative building, the kind of place where important mail got delivered. He walked in, threw his briefcase on the couch, and stood in the doorway staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before. "Got something interesting at work today," he said slowly. His jaw was tight. "Big envelope. From Harvard University. Addressed to you, care of my office." The room went silent. Mom looked up from her magazine. "Apparently," he continued, his voice getting louder, "some idiot in their admissions office sent your acceptance letter to my workplace instead of here. Caused quite a scene when my secretary opened it thinking it was company mail. She congratulated me. In front of my boss who went to Harvard." I stayed quiet, watching. The whole office spent the afternoon talking about my stepdaughter getting into Harvard. "My boss wants to meet you, wants to mentor you. Meanwhile, I've been telling everyone at work for months that you'd be lucky to get into state school." Mom's magazine slipped from her hands. "You made me look like a fool," he said, but his voice cracked slightly on the last word. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt nothing but cold calculation, because I'd been planning this next part for months. "I'm moving in with my dad for the summer," I said calmly. "He lives near Boston. I'll work there before school starts." "Your father?" My stepfather's face went red. "That deadbeat hasn't paid child support in years." "Actually," I said, "he's been paying. Every month. I checked the state portal. It's been going into a college fund Mom never told me about." I watched my mom's face drain of color. She'd been pocketing it. "There's $43,000 in there," I continued. "Enough for my expenses Harvard scholarship doesn't cover. I've already started the paperwork to have it released to me directly. The state agreed since I'm 18 now." My stepfather and mom just stared at each other. Neither of them had realized I'd been documenting everything, checking records, building my exit strategy. But here's what they really didn't know. The thing that made my stomach twist as I watched their faces. My Harvard acceptance wasn't the only envelope that arrived at his office today. There was a second one, smaller, from the IRS. I let the silence stretch. 3 seconds, 5, 10. "What?" my stepfather finally said. His voice had lost its edge. I pulled out my phone, opened my photos. I'd been taking screenshots for 2 years now. Every document I could access. Every financial record left carelessly on the home office desk. Every conversation I'd overheard through the heating vents that connected my room to theirs. "That second envelope," I said. "The one from the IRS. It's an audit notice. For tax years 2020 through 2023. My stepfather's face went from red to white in seconds. "I don't understand," Mom said. She looked genuinely confused. She usually was. "Your husband," I said, not taking my eyes off him, "has been claiming me as a dependent for tax purposes. Full exemption, education credits, the works." "So?" My stepfather tried to recover. "You live here. That's legal." "It would be," I agreed. "Except you've also been telling the company you work for that you have no dependents. That's how you qualified for the executive singles housing allowance. $2,400 a month for 4 years. I watched him do the math. $115 to $200. And then there's the medical supply company's family insurance premium. You told them you only needed individual coverage. Saved the company money. They gave you a bonus for it. Meanwhile, I've been on state insurance because you said adding me would cost too much." Mom's hand went to her mouth. "But here's my favorite part," I continued. My voice stayed level, calm. "The tutoring program I started, the app I built, they generated income. Not much at first. But by last year, I was making about $30,000 annually through ad revenue and premium subscriptions." My stepfather's eyes widened. "I filed my taxes properly, reported everything, paid what I owed. But you claimed me as a dependent without my knowledge, which means the IRS thinks you supported me financially. They're going to want to see proof, bank statements, receipts, evidence that you paid for my food, clothing, housing, education." "I did pay for those things," he said quickly. "You lived here." "Actually," I said, "I paid rent, starting when I was 16. Remember? You said if I wanted to stay in my room, I needed to contribute $400 a month. I have every receipt, every bank transfer, along with the itemized list you gave me of my share of utilities and groceries. I'd kept everything, in a folder, then backed up to 3 different cloud services." "You've been charging your stepdaughter rent?" Mom's voice was small. "Since she was 16? It was teaching her responsibility," my stepfather snapped, but he was sweating now. "The IRS won't see it that way," I said. "They'll see fraudulent tax filings. double dipping on benefits, and probably some insurance fraud thrown in. The penalties alone are going to be substantial. The back taxes with interest will be worse, and if they determine it was intentional, which they will because I documented everything including the emails where you told me not to list this address on my tax returns, that's criminal fraud. The room felt smaller suddenly, darker. You reported me, my stepfather said. It wasn't a question. I didn't have to. The IRS has algorithms. When two people claim conflicting information about the same dependent, it triggers a review. I just made sure I filed first this year, with extensive documentation. I'd sent a thick packet, every receipt, every screenshot, every bank statement, a detailed timeline. I'd even included a notarized statement from Mrs. Patterson next door, who'd witnessed him making me pay rent and had felt so terrible about it she'd bought me groceries for 2 years. This is insane, my stepfather said. You're my daughter. Stepdaughter, I corrected. And only when it's convenient. You made that very clear. Mom was crying now. Why are you doing this? Why are you being so cruel? I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who'd stayed silent while her husband belittled me, who'd pocketed child support money that was meant for my education, who'd never once stood up for me. Cruel would be letting it continue, I said. Cruel would be letting him claim me as dependent while I'm at Harvard so he can keep taking tax breaks on my behalf while telling everyone I'm nothing. Cruel would be staying quiet. We gave you a home, Mom said. You gave me a room. That I paid for. There's a difference. My stepfather's phone buzzed. He looked at it and his face went gray. My lawyer, he muttered. The company's legal department wants to talk to me tomorrow morning. They found out about the housing allowance, I said. The IRS shares information with employers in fraud cases. They probably got notified today. How do you know all this? He asked. I've been reading. A lot. Tax law is actually pretty straightforward when you break it down. I've also been talking to the financial aid office at Harvard. They have resources for students from complicated family situations. They connected me with a pro bono lawyer who specializes in family financial abuse. Financial abuse? Mom's voice went shrill. That's absurd. Is it? I asked. Making a minor pay rent? Pocketing child support? Claiming dependent status while providing minimal actual support? The lawyer had a term for it. Economic exploitation of a minor. Turns out it's more common than you'd think. I stood up, grabbed my backpack. I'd packed it this morning with everything that mattered. Document, photos of my grandparents, the necklace my real dad gave me before he and Mom divorced. Everything else was replaceable. Where are you going? Mom asked. Mrs. Patterson's. She's letting me stay in her guest room until I leave for Boston. My dad's picking me up this weekend. You can't just leave, my stepfather said. I'm 18. I can do whatever I want. Besides, you'll probably need the room. Once the IRS and your company finish with you, you might need to downsize. I walked toward the door. My hand was on the knob when Mom spoke. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry I wasn't stronger. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. I turned. She looked smaller somehow. Older. I'm sorry too, I said. And I meant it. I was sorry she'd chosen a man over her daughter. Sorry she'd let fear make her weak. Sorry she'd never understood that staying silent was its own kind of violence. Can you fix this? She asked. Can you tell the IRS it was a mistake? No, I said. I can't. Even if I wanted to, which I don't. The damage is done. The investigation is automatic now. And honestly, he deserves everything that's coming. My stepfather lunged toward me. I'd expected it. Had my phone up and recording before he moved. You vindictive little... He started. Careful, I said. This is recording. Audio and video. Anything you do or say right now becomes evidence. He stopped, fists clenched, face purple. You think you're so smart, he hissed. You think Harvard makes you better than us? No, I said. I think being honest makes me better than you. I think working hard makes me better than you. I think not exploiting people who depend on me makes me better than you. I left, closed the door quietly behind me, walked across the lawn to Mrs. Patterson's house. She was waiting on her porch, worry creasing her face. Are you all right, dear? She asked. I am now, I said. That night, I slept better than I had in years. The next week was chaos. My stepfather was fired. Not just for the housing allowance fraud, but because the investigation uncovered other issues. Inflated expense reports. Using company resources for personal projects. Once they started looking, they found everything. Mom called me 17 times. I answered once. Your stepfather is talking about bankruptcy, she said. The penalties are enormous. We might lose the house. You might, I agreed. But that's not my problem. How can you be so cold after everything we did for you? What did you do for me, Mom? Really think about it. Silence. I gave birth to you, she finally said. That's biology, not parenting. There's a difference. I don't understand how you became this person, she said. You made me this person, both of you. You taught me to be strategic, to document everything, to trust no one, to always have an exit plan. You just didn't realize I was learning. I hung up, blocked her number. My dad arrived that Saturday. I hadn't seen him in person since I was 11. Mom had convinced the court he was unstable, unreliable, not fit for visitation. She'd weaponized the divorce, kept me from him, poisoned me against him for years. But I'd found him anyway. 2 years ago, through social media. We'd been talking secretly ever since. He pulled up in a blue Honda Civic, climbed out slowly. He'd aged, gray at his temples, lines around his eyes. But when he smiled, I remembered. This was the man who'd taught me to read, who'd made up bedtime stories, who'd disappeared from my life because Mom had made sure he couldn't afford the legal battles. Hi, sweetheart, he said. I dropped my bags and hugged him, really hugged him. I started crying and couldn't stop. I'm sorry, I said. I'm sorry I believed her. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner. Hey, he said gently. You were a kid. None of this is your fault. We loaded my things into his car. Mrs. Patterson came out to say goodbye, pressed an envelope into my hands. For emergencies, she said. Inside was $500 cash. I can't accept this, I started. You can and you will. You helped me set up my computer, Taught me how to video chat with my grandchildren. Never asked for anything in return. This is me saying thank you and good luck. I hugged her. This neighbor had been more family than my actual family. The drive to Boston took 6 hours. Dad and I talked the whole way. He told me about his life after the divorce, the depression, the years of fighting for visitation rights he couldn't afford to enforce, the child support payments he'd sent religiously, even though Mom told him not to bother. I wanted you to know I never stopped trying, he said. Even when I couldn't see you, I was there, in the ways I could be. I know, I said. I saw the payment records. Every single month. You never missed. Your mother told me you didn't want contact, that you'd asked her to tell me to stop trying. I never said that. Not once. I know that now, he said. When you reached out 2 years ago, it was the happiest day of my life, but I was terrified. Terrified you'd realize I was just a regular guy with a regular job and a regular apartment. Nothing special. Not successful like your stepfather. My stepfather is a fraud who's about to lose everything, I said. You're honest. You work hard. You kept your promises even when it cost you. That's not regular. That's remarkable. We stopped at a diner in Connecticut. Over burgers and fries, he told me about his work as an electrician, how he'd built his own small business, how he'd been saving money for years, just in case I ever needed help with college. I have $31,000 set aside, he said. It's yours, for whatever you need. I did the math. $43,000 from the child support fund, $31,000 from Dad, $74,000 total, plus my scholarship covered tuition and room and board. I'd have enough for books, supplies, emergencies, and even some cushion for internships or study abroad. I can't take your savings, I said. Yes, you can. This is what parents do. Real parents. We support our kids' dreams. I started crying again. I'd cried more in 6 hours with my dad than I had in 4 years with Mom and my stepfather. We reached Boston as the sun was setting. Dad's apartment was small but clean. 2 bedrooms in a quiet neighborhood 30 minutes from Harvard's campus. He'd already set up the second room for me. New sheets, a desk, a bookshelf. I know you're only here for the summer, he said, but I wanted you to have a real space. Somewhere that feels like home. It was more than I'd had in years. That first week, we fell into a rhythm. Dad worked during the day. I'd started a summer job at a nonprofit that aligned with my app's mission, helping underprivileged kids access educational resources. Evenings, we'd cook together, talk, sometimes just sit in comfortable silence. I'd never had this with Mom, this ease, this sense of safety. On Thursday, Dad came home early. He looked shaken. Your mother called me, he said. At work. I don't know how she got the number. What did she want? She's threatening legal action. Says I helped you commit fraud. That I knew about the tax issues and encouraged you to report your stepfather. That's ridiculous. You had nothing to do with it. I know. My lawyer knows. But she's desperate. Your stepfather apparently owes $189,000 in back taxes, penalties, and interest. The IRS is garnishing his wages. They're definitely losing the house. Good, I said. Dad looked at me carefully. You're not worried about the legal threats? She has no case. I filed my taxes properly. I reported income I earned. I responded truthfully to IRS questions. Everything I did was legal. Everything he did wasn't. She can threaten all she wants. When did you get so tough? He asked. When I realized no one was coming to save me, I said. So I saved myself. The next day, I got an email from Harvard. My admissions officer wanted to congratulate me personally. She'd heard about my app and my tutoring program from the scholarship committee. She wanted to connect me with professors in the education and technology departments who might be interested in my work. This was happening. Really happening. I was going to Harvard. I had money for expenses. I had a parent who actually supported me. I had a future I'd built myself. That weekend, my grandmother called. Mom's mother. I hadn't spoken to her in months. Your mother is devastated, she said. You've destroyed her life. I didn't do anything to Mom, I said. I exposed fraud committed by her husband. There's a difference. He made mistakes, but family forgives. Family stays together. Family protects each other. I countered. Family doesn't let a child get exploited. Mom chose her husband over me. Repeatedly. She doesn't get to play victim now. You're young. You don't understand how complicated adult relationships are. I understand enough. I understand Mom stole money meant for me. I understand she let her husband charge me rent as a minor. I understand she stood by while he tried to sabotage my future. If that's what adult relationships look like, I want no part of it. Grandma was quiet for a moment. You're more like me than I thought, she finally said. What does that mean? I left your grandfather. Did your mother tell you that? 30 years ago. Everyone said I was crazy, said I was breaking up the family, said I was cruel and vindictive. I didn't know that. Because your mother was a shame. She never forgave me for leaving. Never understood why I had to. But I had my reasons. Good reasons. Just like you have yours. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know something. You're not wrong. You're not cruel. You're strong. And sometimes being strong means standing alone. After that call, I felt lighter. Someone understood. Someone from my family actually got it. June melted into July. I worked. I explored Boston. I visited Harvard's campus, walking through the yards like I belonged there. Because I did. One afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Is this the developer of EduConnect? It was my app's name. Yes, who's this? My name is Patricia Chen. I'm a venture capitalist specializing in educational technology. I've been following your app's growth. I'd like to discuss a potential investment. I almost dropped my phone. Investment? Your platform has impressive user engagement and growth metrics. I think with proper funding, you could scale nationally, maybe internationally. Would you be interested in a meeting? I'm only 18, I said. I'm starting college in the fall. Some of the best founders I've worked with started young. Let's talk. No commitment, just a conversation. We met the following week at a coffee shop in Cambridge. Patricia was in her 40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She'd done her homework, knew my user numbers, retention rates, growth trajectory, everything. You built this alone? She asked. Taught myself coding online, free resources, YouTube tutorials, Stack Overflow forums. Impressive. And the tutoring program? Started with 5 kids. Now we have 200 volunteer tutors across 12 cities. Why? Because I was those kids once. Overlooked. Underestimated. I wanted to prove that background doesn't determine future. She smiled. I like you. I'm prepared to offer $250,000 for 15% equity. We'd help you build a proper infrastructure, hire a team, expand marketing. You'd maintain majority control and creative direction. My head spun. $250,000 for an app I'd built in my bedroom. I need to think about it, I said. Of course. Take your time. But I will say this. Opportunities like this don't come often. And from what I've read about you, you're someone who recognizes opportunity when it appears. She'd read about me. I hadn't realized my story had gotten out, but apparently someone at Harvard had mentioned it to someone in tech circles. The student who'd exposed her stepfather's fraud while building a successful nonprofit app. It made for good press. I talked to Dad that night. He listened carefully. What do you want to do? He asked. I don't know. I'm supposed to focus on school, but this could be huge. You're smart enough to do both if you want to, but if you don't, that's okay too. You don't have to build an empire before you turn 19. But I kind of wanted to. I'd started EduConnect to help kids like me. An investment would let me help thousands more, maybe millions eventually. I called Patricia the next day. Let's do it. The paperwork took 3 weeks. Dad insisted I get my own lawyer to review everything. Smart move. We negotiated up to $275,000 for 14% equity. By mid-August, I had $250,000 in the bank and a team of 3 developers ready to work on scaling the platform. I was 18 years old, heading to Harvard, running a growing company, and I'd gotten here by refusing to accept other people's limitations. 2 days before I moved into my dorm, Mom called from a number I didn't recognize. Please don't hang up, she said immediately. I almost did anyway, but curiosity won. What do you want? To apologize. Really apologize. I waited. I've been in therapy, she said, since everything fell apart. My therapist helped me see things I didn't want to see. About myself, about my choices, about how I failed you. Okay, I was scared. Of being alone, of not having security. Your stepfather offered stability, and I convinced myself that was enough. That you'd be fine because you were smart and capable. I told myself I was teaching you independence. You taught me I couldn't rely on you. I know that now, and I'm so sorry. Where's your husband? I asked. I couldn't call him my stepfather anymore. Ex-husband. I filed for divorce. He's living with his brother while he deals with the IRS. We lost the house. I'm renting a small apartment across town. Good. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I'm trying to be better. I got a job. A real job. Not just depending on a man's income. I'm paying my own bills. I'm learning to stand on my own. That's great, Mom. Really. But it doesn't change what happened. I know. I just wanted you to know. And to tell you I'm proud of you. Even though I have no right to be. You did everything yourself. You became the person I should have taught you to be. Despite me instead of because of me. I felt something crack in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly. But maybe the beginning of understanding. I'm going to Harvard in 2 days, I said. I know, Mrs. Patterson told me. I didn't want to bother you, but I wanted to say congratulations. And I hope you have an amazing time. You earned it. Thanks. Can I ask one thing? What? Can I call you sometimes? Not often. Just to hear how you're doing. You don't have to tell me anything personal. I just want to know you're okay. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Once a month, I said. You can call once a month, but if you miss a call, or if I feel like you're trying to manipulate me or make excuses, I'm done. Permanently. That's fair. That's more than fair. Thank you. We hung up. I felt weird. Not good exactly. Not bad either. Just different. Dad drove me to Cambridge on move-in day. Harvard Yard buzzed with nervous energy. Freshmen everywhere. Parents taking photos. Orientation leaders in bright red shirts directing traffic. My dorm was in Wigglesworth Hall, 3rd floor, a small single with a window overlooking the yard. It was perfect. Dad helped me unpack, hung photos, made my bed. Normal parent stuff. The stuff I'd missed for so long. You're going to be great here, he said. You're going to change the world. Or just get through freshman year without failing anything. That too, he laughed. Call me anytime, for any reason. I mean it. I know, thank you, for everything. That's what dads do, he said simply. After he left, I sat on my bed and looked around my room. At Harvard. With a successful app. With supportive people in my life. With a future I'd fought for. My phone buzzed. A text from my stepfather's old secretary. Just wanted to say congratulations. What you did took courage. Your stepfather was awful to work with. We're all glad he's gone. Good luck at Harvard. You deserve every good thing coming your way. I smiled. Saved the message. That night, I met my roommate. Well, hallmate technically since I had a single. Her name was Priya. Pre-med. From California. Brilliant and kind and nothing like anyone from my old life. What's your story? She asked over pizza in the common room. I gave her the short version. Stepfather, Harvard acceptance, dramatic exit. Damn, she said. That's actually badass. Yeah. Most people would have just taken the abuse. You documented it and burned his whole life down legally. That's some supervillain level strategic thinking. I prefer to think of it as self-defense. Even better, she grinned. You're going to fit in great here. Classes started. Introduction to Computer Science. Freshman English. Calculus 3. Economics. I was drowning in readings and problem sets within a week. Harvard didn't mess around, but I was good at not messing around either. I joined the Harvard Computer Society, started attending venture capital networking events, connected with other student entrepreneurs. Within a month, EduConnect had been featured in TechCrunch as EdTech Startup to Watch, founded by Harvard freshmen. The attention was strange. People wanted to interview me, wanted to know my story. I kept it vague, focused on the app, not the drama. But the drama wasn't quite over. In October, I got served with papers. My stepfather was suing me for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. He claimed I'd maliciously destroyed his career and reputation. I called the lawyer Patricia had connected me with. Her name was Diana Ross, no relation to the singer, and she specialized in defending young entrepreneurs from bullshit lawsuits. This is a slap suit, she said after reviewing the complaint. Strategic lawsuit against public participation. He's trying to intimidate you into silence. We'll file a motion to dismiss and probably countersue for malicious prosecution. How much will this cost? Don't worry about money. Consider it an investment in the principle of the thing. Besides, when we win, he'll owe you legal fees. The lawsuit got media attention. Local news picked it up. Harvard freshman sued by stepfather after exposing tax fraud. The headlines made him look exactly as bad as he was. His lawyer dropped the case 2 weeks later. Turns out suing someone for reporting your crimes to the IRS is not a winning legal strategy, but we didn't drop the countersuit. Diana wanted to make a point. He tried to punish you for doing the right thing, she said. That needs consequences. November came. Midterms, papers, problem sets, running a company, fighting a lawsuit. I was stretched thin, but I'd been stretched thin before. This was different. This time I was doing it for myself, not against someone else. Mom called like clockwork. First Saturday of every month. The calls were awkward but getting easier. She'd tell me about her job at a local clinic, her therapy sessions, her small apartment. She never asked for money or favors, just wanted to know I was okay. I saw the article about your app, she said in November. You're doing amazing things. Thanks. I wish I'd seen it sooner. How capable you were. How strong. You saw what you wanted to see. I did. And I'm sorry for that. These calls didn't fix anything, but they were something. Maybe not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. That was more than I'd expected. In December, we won the countersuit. My stepfather was ordered to pay $15,000 for legal fees plus $10,000 in damages. He filed for bankruptcy the next week. I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just relief that it was over. Finals came. I studied until my eyes burned, took my exams. Survived my first semester at Harvard with a 3.8 GPA. Not perfect, but pretty damn good considering everything else. Dad picked me up for winter break. We spent Christmas in his apartment. Just the two of us. He'd gotten a small tree, made too much food. It was perfect. You survived Harvard, he said. I'm proud of you. I did more than survive. I thrived. That's because you're extraordinary. You know that, right? I'm really not. I'm just stubborn. Same thing, he smiled. On New Year's Eve, we watched the ball drop on TV. At midnight, Dad raised his glass of sparkling cider. To my brilliant daughter, who never gave up, who never let anyone define her limits, who built her own future. To second chances, I said, and people who keep their promises. We clinked glasses. My phone buzzed. A text from Priya. Happy New Year, roomie. Can't wait to cause more trouble with you next semester. Then one from Mrs. Patterson. Proud of you, dear. Your grandmother would be too. Then one from Patricia. Q4 numbers are incredible. EduConnect hit 50,000 users. Let's talk expansion strategy in January. 50,000 users. Kids getting help with homework, test prep, college applications. Kids who might not have had access otherwise. Kids like I used to be. I looked at my phone, at all these messages from people who believed in me, who'd shown up, who'd proven that family isn't just blood. It's who stands beside you when everything falls apart. What are you smiling about? Dad asked. Just thinking, I said, about how I spent years in a house that never felt like home. And now I have a dad who drove 6 hours to pick me up, a roommate who gets me, a business that's helping people, a school that challenges me, a future I built myself. And I think maybe I won, not against them, just for myself. You definitely won, Dad said. But I think the winning part wasn't Harvard or the app or even the money. What was it? You never let them make you smaller. You stayed big, stayed brave, stayed you. That's the win. I thought about that. About the girl who'd applied to Harvard knowing her stepfather would mock her, who'd built an app in her bedroom, who documented everything and filed her taxes and saved herself because no one else would. Yeah, I said. I guess I did. Second semester started in January. I declared a joint concentration in computer science and economics, joined a research lab studying educational technology, started mentoring first-generation college students. EduConnect kept growing. By March, we had 75,000 users and were expanding into mentorship matching. Patricia wanted to raise a Series A. We could potentially raise $2 million. I was 19, running a company valued at multiple millions, maintaining a 3.7 GPA at Harvard. And I'd done it by being strategic, being honest, and refusing to accept other people's version of who I should be. In April, I got an email from my old high school. They wanted me to come speak to students about college applications and pursuing ambitious goals despite obstacles. I almost said no. Going back felt like regression, but then I thought about the kids there now. Kids like I used to be. Overlooked, underestimated, told to lower their expectations. I said yes. The assembly was packed. Hundreds of students. Teachers I remembered. The principal who'd written me a recommendation letter. I talked for 20 minutes. About working at the library. About building my app. About applying to schools everyone said I couldn't get into. About documenting everything and standing up for myself. The people who tell you to lower your expectations, I said, are usually people who've lowered their own. Don't let their limits become yours. Work hard. Document everything. Build your exit strategy. And never, ever let anyone make you smaller than you are. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, a girl approached me, maybe 15, nervous. My stepdad keeps telling me I'm not college material, she said quietly. He says I should just get a job after high school. Are your grades good? Straight A's. Then he's wrong. Apply anyway. Document everything. Build your case. And when the acceptance letters come, let them speak for you. She nodded. Did you really expose your stepfather's tax fraud? I reported accurate information to the IRS. What they did with it was up to them. She smiled. That's so cool. It's just standing up for yourself. You can do it too. Driving back to Boston, I thought about how far I'd come. From that house where I'd paid rent as a minor to Harvard Yard. From being told to lower my expectations to speaking about exceeding them. From a girl nobody believed in to someone mentoring others. My phone rang. Mom's monthly call was early this month. "Hi," she said. "I saw the video of your speech. Someone posted it online." "Yeah? You were brilliant, confident, strong. Everything I should have raised you to be. You didn't raise me to be anything. I raised myself. I know. But I want you to know I'm glad you did. I'm glad you didn't let me hold you back." "Thanks, Mom. I mean it. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. Helping kids who feel powerless. Showing them they're not. It's beautiful." "Are you okay?" I asked. She sounded different. Clearer somehow. "I'm getting there. Therapy helps. Work helps. Learning to be alone helps. I'm figuring out who I am when I'm not defined by a man." "That's good. Your stepfather called me last week, from his brother's house. He wanted to get back together." My stomach dropped. "Please tell me you said no." I told him I'd rather be broke and alone than comfortable and complicit. Then I hung up. Haven't heard from him since. I felt something loosen in my chest. Pride, maybe, for her. "I'm proud of you, Mom. You don't have to say that." "I know, but I am. It takes courage to start over, to admit you were wrong, to change. I learned from the best," she said. My daughter. We talked for an hour about her job, my classes, Dad, the future. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And maybe that was enough for now. Spring semester ended. I'd made Dean's List both semesters. EduConnect had 100,000 users. The Series A was approved. $2.3 million in funding. My equity was now worth several $1,000,000 on paper. I was 19 years old and technically a millionaire. It felt surreal. Dad came to campus for Harvard's freshman celebration, watched me receive an award for entrepreneurship, met my professors, saw my dorm room. He cried 3 times. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're supposed to do. I'm just so damn proud I can't help it." That summer, I didn't go back to Boston. Instead, I took an internship at a venture capital firm in San Francisco, learned the investment side of tech, networked with other founders, grew EduConnect's West Coast presence. Priya came with me. We rented a tiny apartment and spent 3 months working impossible hours and loving every minute. "You know you're living the dream, right?" she said one night over cheap takeout. "What dream?" "The one where you overcome adversity and build an empire and prove everyone wrong. It's like a movie." "It doesn't feel like a movie. It just feels like life." "That's because you're living it. But trust me, from the outside, you're kind of a legend." I laughed. "A legend who can't afford anything nicer than this dumpy apartment, by choice. You could afford a mansion if you wanted. True, but this feels more real." "See? That's what I mean. You're grounded despite everything. It's impressive." August came. Sophomore year loomed. I'd be moving into an on-campus apartment. No more dorm, more freedom, more responsibility. The day before I left San Francisco, I got a call from my grandmother. "Your mother tells me you're doing well," she said. "I am. Very well." "Good. I'm glad you didn't let bitterness destroy you. That's the real strength. Moving forward instead of staying angry." I'm not sure I've moved forward completely. I'm still pretty angry sometimes. Anger is fine, as long as it fuels you instead of consuming you. Sounds like yours is the productive kind. I try. I want to see you, when you have time. I'd like to tell you some stories. About your mother, about me, about the women in our family who've had to be strong when they wanted to be soft. I'd like that, I said, and I meant it. Sophomore year started with momentum. I was taking advanced computer science courses, leading a research project on educational equity, growing EduConnect into a legitimate company with employees and an office and everything. In October, Fortune magazine did a feature. 20 under 20. Young entrepreneurs changing the world. I was number 7. The photo shoot was weird. They wanted me in the Harvard library looking studious yet powerful. I felt like a fraud wearing borrowed designer clothes and pretending to be someone important. But Priya set me straight. "You're not pretending. You are someone important. You built something that matters. Own it." So I did. The article came out. My phone exploded. Interview requests, speaking invitations, investment offers. It was overwhelming. Dad called. "Just saw the magazine. They spelled your name right and everything." "Very funny. I'm serious. You're famous now. How does it feel?" "Weird. Uncomfortable. Like I'm waiting for someone to realize I'm just making this up as I go." That's called imposter syndrome. But here's the thing. Everyone is making it up as they go. You're just doing it better than most. November brought the countersuit settlement payment. After legal fees, I cleared $18,000. I split it 3 ways. $6,000 to a scholarship fund for first-generation college students. $6,000 to Mrs. Patterson as a thank you. $6,000 to Dad to reimburse him for the lawyer he'd hired to review my investment contracts. Dad tried to refuse. "That money's yours. You earned it." "Exactly. Which means I can spend it how I want, and I want to pay you back. You don't owe me anything." "I know. That's why I'm paying you. Because I want to, not because I have to. There's a difference." He took the check. "You're going to be all right, kid. Better than all right." "I learned from the best," I said, meaning him. December came. Finals again. Papers, projects, running a company, being in the media. It was exhausting. But on the last day of finals, I submitted my final paper and felt something shift. Relief, accomplishment, pride. I'd done it. Survived another semester. Thrived, actually. I went to visit my grandmother during winter break. She lived alone in a small house upstate. She'd aged since I last saw her, but her eyes were still sharp. "Tell me everything," she said over tea. So I did. Harvard, the company, the lawsuit, the reconciliation attempts with mom, my relationship with dad, everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she nodded slowly. You remind me of myself at your age, she said. Stubborn, strategic, unwilling to accept less than you deserved. Is that a compliment? The highest one I know how to give. She paused. Your mother called me last week. She's worried she'll never have a real relationship with you again. She might not, I said honestly. I told her that's the consequence of her choices, that you don't owe her forgiveness just because she's sorry. What did she say? She cried. Then she said you were right to protect yourself, that she hoped one day you'd see she was trying to be better. I do see it. But seeing it doesn't mean I trust her. Good. Trust is earned, and she burned hers to the ground. We talked for hours. About her life, her choices, the patterns in our family, the cycle of women choosing security over self-respect. You broke the cycle, she said. You chose yourself, your future, your dignity. That takes courage most people never find. Or desperation. Same thing sometimes. She smiled. The best things I ever did came from being desperate enough to risk everything. Before I left, she gave me a box. Inside were letters, dozens of them, from her to me, written over the years. Your mother never gave you these, she said. She thought they'd turn you against her. She was probably right. I took them home, read them all. Each one was full of wisdom, encouragement, warnings about the patterns I needed to break, about being strong, about choosing myself. I wished I'd had these years ago, but maybe I'd needed to find my strength on my own. Maybe getting it handed to me would have made it less real. The rest of winter break was quiet. Dad and I cooked, watched movies, talked about nothing important. It was the best time I'd had in years. On New Year's Eve, we raised our glasses again. To year 2, Dad said. To building something that lasts, I added. To my daughter, he finished, who never needed saving because she saved herself. We clinked glasses, watched the ball drop. Welcome to the new year. My phone buzzed at 12:01. A text from Mom. Happy New Year. I'm proud of you. I hope this year brings you everything you deserve. I thought about responding, about saying something kind. Instead, I just sent back, thanks. Same to you. It was honest. I did hope she'd get what she deserved. And maybe finally, she was starting to. The rest of sophomore year blurred past. Classes, company growth, media attention. I was featured in Forbes, TechCrunch, The New York Times. EduConnect hit 250,000 users. We hired 12 employees, opened offices in Boston and San Francisco. I was 20 years old, CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, honor roll at Harvard. And I'd gotten there by refusing to accept the limits others tried to place on me. In May, Harvard invited me to speak at a student entrepreneur event. I talked about building a business while in school, about staying grounded, about using success to help others. After the speech, a freshman approached me. I heard you started your company after your stepfather said you'd never amount to anything. Something like that. That must feel good. Proving him wrong. Actually, I said, the best part wasn't proving him wrong. It was proving myself right. Trusting my own abilities. Believing in my own worth. His opinion stopped mattering once I learned to trust mine. She nodded thoughtfully. That's really good advice. It's hard one, I said, but worth it. That night, I sat in my apartment looking at everything I'd built. Not just the company or the recognition, but the life, the relationships, the self-respect. I thought about the girl I'd been at 16, paying rent in her own home, told to lower her expectations, believing she wasn't worth fighting for. And I thought about who I'd become, someone who fought for herself, who built what she needed when no one would give it to her, who proved that your starting point doesn't determine your ending point. My phone rang. Dad, just calling to say goodnight, he said, and to tell you I love you. Love you too, Dad. You doing okay? You sound thoughtful. I am thoughtful, but I'm okay. More than okay. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Good. That's all a parent wants to hear. After we hung up, I pulled out my laptop, opened a new document, started writing. Not a business plan or a paper, but a letter. To my 16-year-old self. Dear younger me, I typed. I know you're scared. I know you feel alone. I know you think this is all there is. This house, these people, this life. But I promise you, it's not. There's so much more waiting for you. You just have to be brave enough to reach for it. Document everything. Trust yourself. Build your exit strategy. And never ever let anyone tell you to lower your expectations. Because 3 years from now, you'll be at Harvard. You'll be running a company. You'll be living a life you built yourself. And it will be so much better than anything you can imagine right now. You're going to make it. I know because I'm you, and I did. Love, your future self. I saved the document, titled it Proof, because that's what my life had become. Proof that you can overcome, proof that you can build, proof that the people who doubt you are wrong, and proof that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's success. It's happiness. It's living well. I closed my laptop, turned off the lights, went to bed. Tomorrow I'd wake up and keep building, keep growing, keep proving, not to anyone else but to myself, that I was worth every dream I'd ever dared to have. And that was enough. That was everything.